Well, Bill, the racing world witnessed something pretty spectacular last weekend. Hong Kong superstar Romantic Warrior winning the Grade 1 Yasuda Kinen in Japan. You worked at the Hong Kong Jockey Club for more than a decade and remain very connected with Hong Kong racing. What did you make of Romantic Warrior's performance?
Well, it just big at every level, Andrew. I mean, this is a horse that in the same season has won five consecutive Group One races in three different countries. He won the Cox Plate in Australia in October, and now he's won the Yasuda Kinen in June in Tokyo, and in between that, three Group One wins in Hong Kong. So, an incredible season. It certainly means he's the Hong Kong Horse of the Year for the second straight year, and he also is elevated to that level of one of the all-time great horses in Hong Kong. And with all of the great horses that have competed in Hong Kong, that speaks volumes. And the great thing about the win on Sunday was the reception from the Japanese crowd. I mean, to go into Japan and win a Group One today in 2024, very, very difficult. Few are able to do it. You're going in and you're beating the great Japanese horses on their own turf. But the reception that the crowd gave Romantic Warrior as he came back to the scales, just magnificent to see. I mean, it was a true appreciation and respect for a champion. And I just thought it was goosebumps to watch that.
So, Bill, the question on everybody's lips now is where do you think Romantic Warrior will head next? And he has lots of options, of course, both at home and abroad. Defending his Cox Plate at Moonee Valley in Melbourne, Australia is one that springs to mind. But of course, the Yasuda Keenan was a win and you're in Breeders' Cup race for the mile. And surely winning a world championship race on American soil must be enticing for connections. What do you think?
Well, before I get into that, McDonald's ridden the horse now eight times, uh, five consecutive Group One wins, seven Group One wins overall, and eight victories. So they just work well together. But the trainer Danny Shum, who's a Hong Kong born and bred trainer, and of course I know him very well from my time. He's very, very good. I think he's one of these. When you think of the top trainers in the sport, of course everybody knows the big names, but in Hong Kong everybody knows and respects Danny Shum, and it's great to see him win at this level, especially traveling horses overseas. It's tremendous to see. And now for Danny Shum and the owner Peter Lau, and I'm sure they'll ask McDonald for his advice, and McDonald will probably be a bit biased because the choices really are come down to three options the way I see it. One, I mean, he's done for the season, and the season in Hong Kong ends in mid-July. But when they resume in early September, the big target will be A, defend the title in the Cox Plate, which is late October. That would be option A. Option B might be stay at home and prepare for the Hong Kong Internationals in December, which is going to be the main target. No doubt the Hong Kong Cup, big prize money and just a big race, and it means everything in Hong Kong. And then the third option, option C, which will be interesting because the Breeders' Cup winning you're in. Um, the only reason I think that would be on the radar, well, two parts to it. One, it's the Breeders' Cup World Championships. The
Mm.
World Championships, I think, has a certain flair to it that's enticing. Secondly, he is a globe-trotting champion. I mean, to win in Australia, obviously he owns Hong Kong, and then to win in Japan, the United States of America might look like the next suitable opportunity. And what a story that would be if a horse were to come over from Hong Kong to run in a race like the Breeders' Cup Mile, which would be the race that would fit him. So they've got a lot to decide, but right now I'm sure they're basking just in the glory of this great victory. But eventually they'll have to come up with a plan. Whatever the plan is, the main target will be the Hong Kong International races on the 8th of December at Sha Tin. That's the primary goal. But whatever comes before will definitely be a Group 1 race. It's just a question of whether it'll be in Australia, Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, it would actually be a Group 2 because the lead up is a Group 2. And the Breeders' Cup Mile, which of course is not only a Group 1, but part of the World Championships.
Well, American racing fans can cross their fingers and hope that Connections choose the Breeders' Cup as a stepping stone for International Day. It'll be an interesting one for James McDonald, who, of course, rides in Australia, and that also clashes Breeders' Cup Saturday with Derby Day at Flemington, which is a huge race day down in Australia. But he might forgo that day just for the experience of riding in a Breeders' Cup if it was to come that way, because he can then jump on a plane, as a lot of jockeys do, on the Saturday night after the Breeders' Cup here at Del Mar, and make it to Melbourne for Monday, the day before the Melbourne Cup, which is just a few days after Derby Day. So that could be another fantastic and intriguing storyline as we follow the story of Romantic Warrior over the next few months. Bill, you mentioned Golden 60. And as the president and CEO of the Thoroughbred Owners of California, I know you're a very busy man, but of course, before I let you go, I'd love to ask you a little bit about Golden 60. News out this week that the Pride of Hong Kong is going to continue in training throughout the off season, and potentially we'll see him again as a 9-year-old next season. How significant is this news, and what did you think of it when the news broke?
I'm not surprised. He's been beautifully handled throughout his career by trainer Francis Loy, and I have followed that he's still in light training. I look at the site, not every day, but almost every day, and I have noticed that he stayed in light training, and he's had a pretty light campaign over each of the last 2 years. They picked their spots carefully. He runs extremely well fresh off the bench, and um, they know that if they bring him back and present him on the day, um, he's going to run very, very well first up. So I think they'll just bide their time. They respect the horse so much, and I'm sure as long as the horse gives them the right signals that he wants to keep doing what he does, there'll be no hesitation. They know the horse extremely well. It's one of the great stories because it's one of these rare occasions where a Hong Kong superstar horse is trained by a local trainer and ridden by a local jockey, Vincent Ho, and they've handled this horse to perfection throughout his career. He's a son of Medaglia d'Oro, bred in Australia, and they've had him from day one, and they have just done everything right. So, the fact that he's a 9-year-old, people might look at that here and scratch their heads, but it's not uncommon in Hong Kong to have these great horses continue the longevity in their careers and to be able to still do it at an advanced age. A horse like Beauty Generation is a good example, winning at a top level very, very deep into his career. But to do it at the age of 9 and continue to do it against the world's best would be something to see. And I think he's capable of doing it. So I would not bet against him.
Well, as this season starts to wrap up, we've already got a lot to look forward to for season 2024/25. Bill, as always, thank you so much for all your wonderful insights and information about the incredible world of Hong Kong racing, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you, Andrew.